Previously on Aoi Shiro. The thrust of Miku's pull quickly changed from defense to offense.
ところでさ、ヤオビクニって知ってる?
Nope. I knew that in order to draw upon that power, the life of the Nakad priestess must be sacrificed. Yes, I could comprehend that, but I didn't want that to happen. Hearing just those words relieved the painful feelings in my heart. Then, the light of the gate surrounded us. It melted away our consciousness. And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Aoi Shiro. I got two objectives today. Number one, try to find Yasumi's last remaining ending, and then after that, get started on trying to get onto Kaya's route, which I am most certainly excited for. I'm very curious to see what Kaya's route will end up involving, especially if we can run into her a lot earlier than we typically do in the other routes. But of course, first things first, we gotta finish Yasumi once and for all. So, I think I know which ending this is, and it's one that I have to keep the score system in mind for, where I gotta try to have not too good a relationship with Yasumi and not too bad a relationship either, like somewhere in the middle. So to that end, I gotta be mindful of picking the wrong choices and good choices with her, and hoping that I get lucky and get this ending. Otherwise, if I just end up stuck at this for a while, I'm probably gonna have to end up consulting some information that a viewer has left me with, so I can definitely get this ending for sure if I find myself stuck, which I won't be surprised that it ends up happening, knowing my luck. But time will tell, I suppose.
そんなもの。さあ、どうする?
Oh my god, finally! Been at this for almost an hour. I think I finally found the magic combination here. So, what should we do? Let me check the photo. Oh my god, yes, 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 yes! Oh my god, you guys have no idea how happy I feel right now.
さあさあ、どうする?
I am gonna get myself some confetti. There's nothing else we can do.
翔子先輩。
I held on to Yasumi's shaking hand. Besides that, I couldn't think of anything else to do. This was bad. We didn't have any other options. It was like we were caught between two major pieces in shogi, like the rook and bishop. It was checkmate for us. Are rooks and bishops actually part of shogi? I thought that was chess.
さあ、鬼に捕まるぞ。鬼が捕まえるぞ。
Preferably captured. Oops. The Oni's huge arm reached out towards us. I said I wanted to be captured. Thank you very much. Yes, I want to save. I want to save.
Aoi Shiro.
I think this is it right here, yes.
どの結末を見たいわけ?
Look at that. No more gaps. No more gaps. I am done. Ha ha ha! So now that we well and truly got Yasumi out of the way, I think it's time for us to move on. And I'm choosing Kaya. So, I'm going to assume that her route, if I were to look on the flowchart, would be pretty close to Miiwa's, because I ended up unlocking her seals on Migiwa's route. Probably a flimsy reasoning, I suppose, to assume that's why she'd be close to Migiwa's route. But, well, I really got nothing better to base this theory on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way to the garden, and from there, just select whatever options I have available to me that I don't remember ever choosing before, and see where that takes me. Wait a minute. Why am I doing this?
スキップよ。進行上、カーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ。
Okay, so I think this is the one I didn't choose last time, because I kept looking and I ended up running into Kohaku. So let's go back.
私、何泣いてるんだろう。
Actually, yeah, scratch that. I think I've already had my encounter with Kohaku. It was strange. As I wiped the tears away, the strange feeling clouding my heart vanished. These thoughts weren't mine. A similar experience would be like having too much empathy with a story. And this wasn't a book or a movie, but a real-life experience that I felt. It's as if I had changed places with someone in a story and I had a vicarious experience. But those things should only be possible in a dream, right?
やっぱり寝ぼけてるのかな。
I lost the motivation to search for Migiwa and whoever she was talking to.
帰って寝よう。
I felt a commotion which caused me to wake up.
明かり？
The lights in the hall should have been out, but they were on. What was going on? I suspect Yasumi's been fishing, and she brought home a big catch. If my memory served me correctly, that should have been an empty room not assigned to anyone. But the lights were on, and the black shadows showing through the screen doors indicated someone was there. The largest shadow with its distinctive head was unmistakably the monk. If only the monk was there. It might be a private matter, but there were other shadows too.
困りましたね、鈴木さん。
They seemed to be having a discussion. I should go confirm what had happened.
失礼します。
I called out as I slid the door open. I just want to look at the flowchart real fast.
進行カーソルを合わせると章題が表示される。
The person closest to the door was the monk, and he waved me over.
おお、部長さん。
His deeply furrowed brow lightened up a bit. He moved over to make room for me. I wonder if the monk was preparing to sleep because he wasn't in his refined black robes, but wearing a simple white one.
何かありましたか？
There was a futon laid out in the room. Was someone sick?
マネージャーさんが寝つけずに砂浜に散歩に出たそうなんじゃよ。そこでこの子を見つけたそうな。
Everyone turned to gaze at the girl. My gaze also followed theirs. My heart thumped hard. Once. What'd I tell you? There was one futon laid out there. The futon wasn't empty. A girl was sleeping there. She was tucked up in her shoulders. Her head peeked out from the futon. The breath I swallowed turned to something unfamiliar in my chest.
それにしてもこの娘さんは本当に運がいい。傷一つなく打ち上げられるなど、どんな奇跡が働いたことやら。
She was as white as the sheets and covers. Her sleeping face was too pale. Her long, slightly wavy hair didn't match her young face. It was a strange, colorless shade. With With her figure, there were plenty of reasons that she would draw the gazes of people around her, but even still, more than that,
似てる
I finally let out the breath in my chest, and I lightly shivered. Yasumi might have had good hearing because she even noticed my shiver and asked,
翔子先輩誰にですか誰って今似てるっていやそれは
It's not that her countenance resembled someone I knew. I just said resembled without thinking. Looking closely, the eyes, mouth, and nose were different. But still, the impression I got was... I recalled the person I met in the South Forest, with white hair and skin, which was different from a Japanese person. You know, I wonder if I could also get to Kohaku's route, or along this journal path I'm on too. Uzubaki's spirit. Well, yeah, I should be able to, cause if she was on the left side of the flowchart, I would have run into it by now, I'm sure. So it's got to be towards the right. Was that an incarnation of a pomegranate, said to taste like human flesh, which floated ashore from the ocean? What exactly was I thinking? We got some familiar text here, at least.
スキップよりも設定進行上カーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ
Just made a big loop around here, and now we're down here.
進行上カーソルを合わせると章題が表
There's a chance that if I'm assuming that there's a chance I could find myself on Kohaku's route if I make choices like the one in South Forest too often. And the last thing I want is to end up on someone else's route from the one I'm trying to go after right now. So I'm going to play it safe and select the girl Yasumi found, even though that would probably also put me on path towards Nami.
スキップよりも
At least with Nami, I could just skip to an ending real fast and try again. Just this info should put me
スキップ
down the chart.
よ進行状態のカーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ設定を進行上カーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ
Wasn't there supposed to be a third option here that I could choose? I'm pretty sure I remembered seeing one here.
進行状態のカーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ
I don't remember which option I chose here. Oni stepping stones? Well, let me just see what this does. Oh, hey! It's not skipping forward. I decided to go to that place during my free time. That place that jolted my sunken memories and made them bubble up.
進行上カーソルを合わせると章題が表示されるわよ
Good, I'm going through the seal. This has to be Kaya's route right here. The place that jolted my sunken memories and made them bubble up. Two stepping stones where someone lent me a hand to cross over them when I was young. The identity of that person was made clear in yesterday's phone call.
ああ、そうだとも。お前 前たちがその昔言ったのは、
私が夏姉さんに連れられてきたのは。
This was the ocean where 8 years ago I was said to have drowned. This was the ocean where 8 years ago I lost Natsune-san in my memory of that time. Though she was such an important person to me, it was like she had stayed hidden from me. No. I just couldn't remember. That's it. I just couldn't remember. That's it. Because Migiwa was there yesterday, I couldn't recall these things. Oh, sure, blame Migiwa, why don't you? Because I didn't realize it yesterday, I couldn't think about it either. That's why I think I'll go there. To the one and only road that leads from Unosaka to Hiroshima. To the only stepping stones. You okay, Migiwa? You look like you got something on your mind. I wouldn't be able to investigate before the tide changed. The tide hadn't drawn back yet. Only one or two of the weirdly shaped Oni stepping stones peeked out from beneath the waves, and it was still just a rough sea.
あれが浦島。
It was separated from here by the ocean. A different color than other places, a solitary road stretched out towards it. The crests of the waves broke against the stepping stones, which were hidden beneath the shallow sea, creating fine bubbles. A white road stretching out in a blue sea. I wondered how long I stood here, staring at the complicated chaos of water. It felt like it was only a moment. By the time I realized it, the road now proceeded for several steps instead of just half a step, like when I just came here.
潮が引けばここから渡れる。
Facing the sea which stretched out, I took a step forward. The uneven surface that bit into my feet was still wet. There was less than one step between me and the ocean. As if enchanted, I went further.
そこ危ないわよ。
I missed a step I was going to take, and had the same feeling you get when you miss a step while going down the stairs. I hate that feeling so much. From my backbone to my tailbone, a chill ran down my spine. That only lasted until my foot touched down on the ground. After that moment, the only lasting effects were the not-quite beads of sweat and pounding of my heart.
おさ、こんなところで何やってるわけ？
Fishing! What are you doing? Though she was walking over a hard patchwork surface, I could barely hear her soft cat-like footsteps. I'm fine. My heart had already calmed down.
ちょっと見物に来ただけよ。昔話で鬼ヶ島に渡った秘密の道ってここなんでしょ？案内の看板も何もないけど。
Migo said that in a voice implying that I came here for some purpose other than sightseeing. Fishy fishing!
看板があるとしたら立ち入り禁止のそれよね。ここは九郎様の禁足地なわけだし。そういう右輪は入っていいわけ？
Migo looked a little surprised at my comeback. She didn't blink and stared at me with hard eyes. You should have come up with an excuse as to why you're here.
浦島に伝わる祭りについて、オサは何か知っている？オサ。
She asked me something like that.
よそ者どころか土地の人でも特別な役目のある人しか内容を知らない非才らしいけど。
From what the monk told us this morning.
ちょっと表沙汰にはできないような大層な奇祭らしいわよ。
It seems to be a festival where a sacrifice was offered.
ミステリもののドラマなら土俗的な飲酒だとかで絶対殺人起こってるわね。
While it was true that the festival would be difficult to expose, at the very end, the offering was an ox and not a person. Just suppose, and really just suppose, a ritual of a human sacrifice had happened.
そんな大昔ならともかく現代みたいな法治国家で
Oh, Shioko, you honestly think that this sort of shit couldn't happen in certain countries if they're law-abiding? Do you not understand the criminal deviancy? A face where people's lives hung in the balance would only occur long ago or in some drama. At the very least, I didn't know anything about something like that. I might know something about that, but I couldn't remember. My memories from 8 years ago were so deep underwater that I couldn't hold my breath long enough to reach them. Mikiwa had been eavesdropping when I'd confirmed that with my grandfather, so I wondered if she didn't hear.
で、オサはなんでこんなところに？浦島か文石かに興味でも持ってるわけ？
Well, I am interested in the fact that they might be lead me to the road down memory lane that I need to go down. So, yeah. Was she just asking me because she was curious? I guess it wouldn't hurt to talk to you about this. I don't know if this is an option that if this is a choice that will impact the story in any meaningful way or not. So, okay.
私が興味？興味のない人はこんな場所までわざわざ来ないし、来たところであんな道を渡ってみようだなんて考えないわよ。
The tide had receded even more, and the tops of the stepping stones were poking out from beneath the waves. Though they were called stepping stones, they weren't made for a human, as there were several meters between some of them. These were only stepping stones. I heard that this was a dangerous place, even close to shore, and it'd be no joke if one fell into the ocean here. It's true that one would have to be really curious to come all the way here to sightsee and think about crossing over. But there was a reason for me to be interested in this place.
私はほとんど覚えてなくて、わずかに思い出したこともここに来るまで忘れてたんだけど、私、浦島に行ったことがあるらしいのよね。それもちょうどこの時期に。
At a different time, it'd be a different story, but at the time around Kurosama's festival, one could only use the stepping stones to cross over since no boats sailed during that time to Hiroshima. Mikiwa gave a strange reply so that I couldn't tell if she was interested in my answer or not. Glancing at me, she asked,
で、なんでわざわざそんな時期こんなところに？アキコさん、私の祖母が亡くなったから。アキコさんから聞いたことがあるからだと思う。人は死んだら海の向こうの常世の島に向かうんだって。二来家内か。二来家内？ああ、本土の人には南洋上の観音浄土とか言った方が通りがいいのかな。
First I've heard of this.
不堕落都会。
So it was like the western paradise of the Pure Land. The distinction was different, but it was the same general idea.
おさってば、真っ向臭い言葉知ってるじゃない。
It's because I was a kid that stuck close to my grandmother. After Akiko-san died, my workaholic mother reduced her workload to stay around the house more. But that was just until I grew up. Even now, there were many times when I had meals with my grandfather.
昔々浦島はの竜宮城もある種その手の常世の島よね。
The model for those stories might be in the Tango no Kuni Fudoki, as a tale of Urashimako, who visited Huraisan. Rai-san has a character for mountain in its name, but was not that or beneath the sea, but an island where gods lived.
未来家内。与那国ではハイドナン、ハテルマではハイバテロウマ。それぞれ与那国の南、ハテルマの南って意味ね。竜宮は琉球だなんて説もあるけど、未来家内はさらに南。南の彼方にあるという常世の島。
Since we have traveled leisurely by car, as a kid, I thought Urashima was an island at the southern end of the world.
そこは死者が向かう島？本土の方の神話でも根の片す国、根の国って言うでしょ。その根の字だけど、向こうじゃニーガン、ニーヤ、ニーチュって具合に根の字をニって読むわけね。だから二来家内の二の字も根だと柳田国夫だったかな。偉い学者先生も言ってるわけよ。
So Nirai Kanai was Neko Kata Sukuni.
表に現れざるものであり、物事を生じる大元である根。その根っこの根の字は木偏に根。
She wrote the word kon in the air.
根の字そのものを使う言葉は少なく、有名どころじゃ駅の八家ぐらいだろうけど。おさ、八家はわかる？
Nope.
細かいことはともかく、そういう概念程度なら。
Since my grandfather's job was acupuncture, which was brought over from China, it was greatly connected to Qigong and Hake. In Hake, all events are interrelated by 8 symbols: Ken, Da, Ri, Shin, Son, Kan, Gon, Kon.
OK。根は八家の読みだとゴン。自然現象だと山を表し、その属性は門。そして象徴する方角は北東。これを十二支で読み替えると牛虎。それがおそらく根の字の唯一だろう訓読みで、同時にそれは鬼門を表す。避けるべき鬼が出入りする方角。爽快に浮かぶどさくさんに生える渦を巻くように曲がりくねった桃の木の東北の枝の間を鬼門といい、多くの鬼が出入りしているという。本場の中国でいう鬼って死人のことよ。つまりは根、人の命の元である魂の帰る場所。それからちなみに、何しろ根の一文字は邪眼をもって人を退けるって表意文字。これに心を加えれば恨みが完成するわけよ。恨みに浸した眼差しは毒をはらんだ邪視そのもの。鬼の目よ。
Or an eye of a really angry homicidal maniac. I heard a vibrating sound coming from somewhere. Ring ring.
お、来た来た、ちょうどよかった。なかなか綺麗に映ってるじゃない。
So a picture must have been sent along with the mail.
ちょうどよかった？オサにね、見せたいものがあったのよ。
Oh, really? She played with the metallic red cell phone in her hand as she said that.
見せたいものね。ペットの自慢？
I wonder if Miko would keep a dog or a cat. Well, maybe she would keep a bird.
それとも家族の写真かしら。
There wasn't a custom like that in Japan, but Westerners seem to carry around pictures of family and decorate rooms with them. That's not a custom in Japan? Huh. Wonder why. The proportion of foreigners, mostly Americans, was high where she lived, so there must be at least a bit of cultural exchange. Or she was recalling some joke, where someone asked to see what her parents looked like. After I asked that, Migawa's lips formed a thin smile.
ま、家族の写真には違いないわね。
If it wasn't Migawa's family, then whose family did she want to show me? picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't mind seeing a picture of whomever she wanted me to see.
あなた、この人に見覚えない？
The picture displayed on the LCD of her red cell phone was... Yes! This fine individual looks like an older version of me. Well, we know that Migawa is not a bad actor in any capacity. Secretive about a lot of things, but she's not a bad person. So I don't see any reason to be secretive about it. So. In this wide world, it's said that each person had 2 lookalikes, but the picture on Migawa's cell phone wasn't a stranger.
知ってるわよ。当たり前じゃない。そうよね。この人は長の親戚で、さっきの8年前に一緒にこの島に来た人でしょ。なっちゃん。夏姉さん。女子剣道選手権優勝者、成海かや。へえ、かやなのになっちゃんなんだ。あきこさんがそう呼んでたから。
My grandmother felt her name Shoho was too stiff and preferred to be called by the gentler name Akiko.
もっとも、ずいぶん昔の話だけれどね。
8 years was a long time. The memory of a deceased person would fade, and the most natural way of calling her even became Natsuni-san. So much had faded that even my old way of calling her Nat-chan was painted over.
ところで私、その人に会ったわよ。
Natsuni-san shouldn't have been to Okinawa before, so where did the two meet?
それもつい最近。夏姉さんが
A red noise ran through my head. The contrast in the grainy noise made something like a picture. The shape in front of me was the back of someone. That person hadn't lost the supple body of a woman, but at the same time had a strong, firm body. That person, who I could trust more than anyone else, and who I believed was stronger than anyone else, was... Peering past her back, the stoutly built man I saw was dressed in white. His face... I couldn't see. I didn't know him. The arm of the person I didn't know was frozen in a position where he had swung his sword down. Then, if that's the case, this redness... Was it the materialization of the pain scattering from that wall?
何これ。おさ、何か知ってることがあるんじゃない？知らない。こんなの知らない。
I should know this. Natsuni-san and I had gotten wrapped up in a storm, and due to my good fortune, I was the only one who survived. If that were true, then why did something like this?
知らないんじゃなくて、思い出したくないだけじゃない？
It wasn't that I didn't know, or that I forgot. I was only trying to resist remembering that memory sunk deep within me. But something like this.
私は、なっちゃんは。
The pump that was trying to dredge up the memory from deep within me was annoying. The heart that made my body shake was annoying. It was as if there were hundreds of millions of minute glass shards buried in my veins. The pain and unpleasantness I felt was as if that glass were running through my bloodstream and shredding me from the insides. I felt a gritty sensation in my stomach, my mouth. The noise wouldn't stop running through my head. My heart caused an incredible throbbing pain. And then the glass shards were in my head. Something severed in my head. And like how a fuse goes out, everything turned to black. Look what you did! You made everything go to black for me. I didn't know if things had occurred like that back then, so I was in the middle of a chaos of confusion. I didn't have any recollection of that. It might have happened, but I myself was not aware of it. Let there be light. God had said that at the very beginning, and the chaotic world had divided into day and night, sky and earth, and land and sea. To sum it up, those were words that God used to give the world shape in a location where God didn't exist before. I heard a voice. I heard a voice. I didn't know the time or place. Fused within an expanding world of chaos, the reason I became me was because I heard that voice. I think, therefore I am. Something like that, but if no other event had occurred, then I couldn't have drawn a line between me and other, and would have been dissolved in the chaos. That's why by following that voice, I became aware of the person I was observing, of the world I was in, and the me in the world that was observing the event.
Shou-chan.
I heard a nostalgic voice calling me. Was this a dream? This should be a dream. I finally realized that I was watching a dream. That's right. Since Miku had talked about such things, it caused me to have a dream about Natsune-san. Since I had figured out that much, then very soon. Should have been very soon, but the graining noise was in my way. My consciousness floated up from deep within me.
しょうちゃん、ごめんね。なっちゃん。
As I blinked, the red vision was wiped away from my eyelids. Nami! You're here already, and you got your hand in front of my face. Trying to read my temperature? The image and sound from the dream world vanished. The only reminder was the feeling of a person's hand brushing through my hair. No, that should only be a lingering feeling, but the size of the hand on my head, its strength, everything was different. The hazy fog that clouded my field of vision, started to slowly clear and form an image. I was still dazed, and what caught my eye was a white face. I'd been unconscious for a long time. That white face was framed by long, plentiful white hair which tumbled down. The young girl with long hair sitting next to my pillow gently rubbed my head, as if indicating it was okay.
あなたは。
At my question, the young girl stopped moving her hand. This child was... No, wait, never mind. Oh my god, I forgot we already recovered her from the beach. What is wrong with me? As I was sleeping, my eyes had...
もう夜。ここは。
It was a different room than the one I slept in yesterday, though from the drawings on the doors, it was a room in Shoshinji.
進行状態のカーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
I gradually realized what had happened. At the only stepping stones, I had collapsed while talking to Mikiwa. I wondered if Mikiwa had carried me all the way back here. If that were so, then I should be grateful for the heavy labor, since it was quite a long distance and I was about the same age. Even if she had just called someone over to help, I would have been grateful.
にしても思い出そうとしただけで。
It was just like how a breaker falls after going past the amount of electricity it can support.
部長さん、起きられましたかな。
誘拐おしょう。
どうやら大事はないようですな。それともどこか悪いところは。
shook my head.
では、お腹は空いておりますかな？
空いてます。
Oh, whoops. I forgot to read that. The insistent rumble of my stomach, which was louder than my weakened voice, caused me to unexpectedly blush. I tried to put the palm of my hand to my face to draw away the heat.
他のところはわかりませんが、胃袋は正常に動いておるようですな。
そんな時間なんですか？ところでこの子は？
今日の昼過ぎに、そうですな、部長さんと入れ替わりに目が覚めましてな。この小さいお嬢さんのことはナミちゃんと呼ぶことになりました。
ナミ。
I saw a dream. It was too fragmented to be called a dream. I saw pieces of a dream. Even though I had remembered right after I woke up. As time passed, the dream disappeared like bubbles.
誘拐和尚に聞きたいことがあるんですけど。
It was more transient than a snowflake, and I'd want to confirm what I saw before reality melted away my dream. I wanted to clearly put into words what I saw in the fragments of my dream. That's why I decided to ask the monk.
何ですかな？
ずいぶん前のことになりますから、覚えていることだけでいいんです。8年前。
The last summer that Natsune-sen was alive.
8年前の夏に、成海かやという若い女性剣士が昇進寺に来ませんでしたか？
I wonder if Natsune-sen and I had come here.
女子剣道で天下を取った。ええ、覚えていますとも。
Though the monk had given up his sword when leaving his house, it seemed he hadn't lost all interest in it as he answered promptly.
お嬢さん方と同様に角兵衛さんの紹介でね。成美さんの父親が角兵衛さんの後輩でずいぶん可愛がっておったらしいの。妹さんだったかな？小学生ぐらいの子と一緒に訪ねてきましたな。
There was no mistake.
その小学生の子は私です。
ん？しかし幼いという名字に覚えは。
夏姉さんは私のいとこ違いなんです。
いとこ違いというと？
母のいとこです。
説明するのが難しい関係ですな。
It's true that in a nuclear family nowadays, close relatives would be your grandparents, cousins, and nieces and nephews. Not to mention that the two of us were traveling alone.
あきこさんがいるときはそれぞれ姪と孫なんで旅行するときも楽だったんですが。
なるほど。若い娘さんがさらに小さい子を連れて旅行だと。
Since our last names were different and we weren't real sisters, that might have caused various problems.
それで多分姉妹ということに。
Taking advantage of the long, long summer, we traveled south by car. There were days when we slept in the car, but that wasn't every day. When we registered at guest houses, I didn't use the name Osanai Shoko, but used the name Narumi Shoko. Because of her driver's license and other circumstances, Natsune-san couldn't use the name Osanai Kaya.
なるほど。わしの記憶もまんざらではない。その昔、幼いさんは来なかったが、あなたはここに来たことがあった。
Yes. Natsune-san and I visited Shoshinji, saw the Tokusaki no Tsubaki, and went to the everlasting island where they bloomed.
休みの方もそんな感じかもしれませんね。
In my case, since Natsune-san was uncommonly stubborn, An acquaintance of my grandfather recommended I use an assumed name. Nowadays, because of family circumstances and other such situations, it wasn't rare for a child to change his or her last name.
そのうち解明してご覧に入れよ
The monk formed his hand into a pistol shape and tapped his jaw as he gave a fearless smile.
それともう一ついいですか。
う。何なりとお尋ねくだされ。
浦島の九郎様のお祭りってどんなことをするんでしょうか。
I continued my questioning this morning. The monk still hadn't.
本当に被災なんですね。知りたいわ、知りたいです。私学術的好奇心を刺激されまくりです。
At that time, if Aoi Sensei hadn't acted like a little kid, I think the monk would have ended the conversation about the ritual. Thinking about it like that, the monk's silence. Was that silence not about whether to talk about the ritual? Or not, but instead pondering how much he could tell us? No. If Natsune-san and I had really gone to that island, then what occurred there?
右輪は生贄でも捧げてるんじゃないかって。
It had been a joke about how that often happens in mysteries or dramas, though. After that, she had showed me a picture of Natsune-san, who should have died 8 years ago. So the sacrifices weren't limited to oxen. People were included too. I might just be beset by doubts and fears, but I wondered if the monk knew about that and was hiding something.
つまびらかにされていない宗教儀式というものはどうにもうさんくさく見えてしまうものですからな。九郎様の祭りは被災ゆえ、その内容は根方の祭司と島の一部の者しか知らんはずじゃ。わしが知っておる範囲では和田摘の岩倉という場所で祭司の根方さん、根方九郎流伝承者の剣客がその年の汚れを集めたの首を切るのだと。
首。
A ritual like leaves a head. Dropping down like a sabaki flower. Cut through with one stroke.
ああ、失礼。病み上がりのお嬢さんにする話ではありませんでしたな。部長さんにも刺激が強すぎる話でしたかな。
だってそんなことが許されて。
近年は動物愛護団体などもうるさいですからな。
動物愛護団体
ですから牛の首を。
牛。
From what I've heard so far, that's to be expected, but hearing clearly that it was an ox allowed me to relax.
浦島では昔から牛を飼っておりますゆえに、牛の調達には事欠かない。あとは島の者が口をつぐんでさえしまえば。
It's true that it would be hard to expose this ritual to the public.
祭りゆえの秘密、秘するゆえの祭り。
But then, the memory that floated up on and off, that memory filled with noise.
部長さん、顔色が良くないが。
大丈夫です。この後食事をいただいて。
When my stomach calms down, then I'll be able to think clearly again.
とりあえず寝汗がひどいのでお風呂をいただかせてもらいます。
うん。無理はなさらんようにな。
Oh, look, cards again. After finishing my bath and returning to the room, we started to play cards just like yesterday. Everyone looked worried about me, so I put on a smile. Migyo was also here.
なんか言いたそうな顔してるわね。
Something. There, I said it. That might be true.
ミギーさんにイカサマ疑惑か何かが？ももち、なんて失礼な。長程度に見破られるような手は使わないわよ。
She smiled and waved her hand in the air. Those are fighting words right there.
翔子さんに失礼なような。そうでもないわよ。その手のイカサマって基本的に種知らない相手にはバレないものだって相場が決まってるから。バレるのは知って対策している人にだと。つまり長はイカサマになんて興味がない高潔なお人柄だろうって遠回しに褒めてるわけ。
I was taking that as a roundabout way of insulting her personally.
なるほど、そうだったんですか。姫先輩、清廉潔白かどうかを問う前に普通の女子高生はイカサマとか知らないと思うんですけどね。
Okay. You can tell us about your cheating ways.
右は、あなたは何を知ってるの？夏姉さんが一体何をしたの？
Okay, I thought we were just gonna continue on the conversation about cheating, but I guess we're just doing this. Aoi Shiro, Yasumi, and Momoko looked up with astonished expressions. Migawa shrugged her shoulders, indicating good grief.
いきなりね。世の中情報だってただじゃないのよ。私にどうしろって。お互い未成年だし、ギブアンドテイクが妥当なところじゃない？でも、8年前に浦島で何があったか、それを教えてほしいわけよ。特に、鳴海かやの身に何があったのかを。私はこの場合、話を振ってきた長から話すのが筋ってものよね。私は8年前のことは覚えて。違うわね。長は何かを知ってるはずよ。思い出すのを拒んでるだけ。
Her cold blue eyes shot through me.
夏姉さんに連れられて島へ向かったということぐらいしか思い出せ。ねえ長、昼にあんたが倒れる直前、頭の中には何があった？
The image that looked like it had been rasped away appeared in my head again. Without knowing, my heart started to beat faster. Though I'd just taken a bath, a cold sweat ran down my back.
やめてください！やすみ。翔子先輩、無理に思い出そうとしないでください。おや、やすみ。
But we were on the cusp of remembering stuff early. Just think about how that could have changed the flow of the story.
だって翔子先輩、昼間も倒れて。やすみんだって倒れたじゃない？
Yasumi had collapsed? I hadn't heard about that.
私のは珍しくないというか、日常茶飯事です。
That was true. Yasumi had also been feeling bad this morning.
さて、部長さんの人望のおかげで、どうやら私が悪役だから、今日はさっさと退散するわ。
Coward. She shrugged her shoulders as she stood up, giving the impression it couldn't be helped.She passed by me and smoothly slid the screen door open, looking over her shoulder at me with a cold gaze.
長、私は私の手を指して相手待ちに入ったわよ。
She was saying that what happened from here on out depended on me. The time allotted to me until I figured out my next move was rather short. My closed eyelids lifted upwards. I had been conscious even before I opened my eyes.
寝れば夢でも見るかって期待だけはしたんだけどね。
Whether what happened during the day counted as sleep or not, I'd slept too much then, so maybe that's why I couldn't sleep now. Maybe my nerves were really strung because my senses felt unusually sharp. I heard the sound of the wind and tide and even the rush of blood within me. I felt all those things stop me from sleeping. The pounding of my heart and veins felt like they were making my body shiver. Were the tides of the ocean drawing me out? I felt as if that huge mass was even pulling the blood within me towards the center of the ocean. I felt as if I were being drawn outside. That was why I couldn't sleep. If it got any louder, the people sleeping might not be able to stand it either. Without making a sound, I got out of my futon. I wonder who we're gonna run into. I went down the long stairs, past the beach where I heard the sound of large waves crashing, and towards the rocks. I saw. Of course. Miyu had set herself up on some rocks near the stepping stones with a fishing line, looking like she had a lot of free time. I didn't know much about fishing, but weren't you supposed to fish near the rocks at high tide, not low tide? So I guess the fishing pole in her hand really was just for show. And Miguel's real goal wasn't fishing. Of course, the part about her being here for a hot spring was probably also not the truth.
おさ、何か思い出した？
Miguel wasn't an ordinary person, as she determined it was me just by the sound of my footsteps and didn't even turn around. The only thing that agreed me was her hard voice.
あなたが食いつきそうな情報はないと思うわ。
I'd only seen fragments of a dream.
夏姉さんが謝りながら頭を撫でてくれた。何それ？そんなの私が知りたいわよ。
It was a memory that I couldn't remember. But that wasn't some illusion that I had just made up. It was a memory of a real scene from 8 years ago, edges worn, as if eaten away by worms. I hadn't forgotten. I just couldn't remember. Seems I couldn't remember anything beyond that.
せめて日時や場所や状況や謝る理由がわかるならそれなりに有益な情報だったかもしれないんだけどね。私だってそう思うわよ。
I wanted to see the continuation of it, but the waves and beat of my heart were too noisy, and I just couldn't sleep.
で、昼間はそのことを思い出して倒れたわけ？まさか。
I shouldn't have collapsed because of something like that. Well, we all know that your head is not exactly normal. At that time, what I saw was the sandy redness caused a rasping pain that made me grit my teeth in order to bear it. I'm okay. There's no way I would let Mihiwa see me acting weak so many times. I sucked in the sea breeze floating in the night air to cool down the heat in both my body and heart. I'm fine. I can deal with this calmly.
そっちはもっと曖昧ね。誰かが誰かを切っていて、誰かが誰かに切られてた。誰かって誰よ？それがわかるなら曖昧な言い方しないわよ。
Even if I squinted my eyes and endured the pain, I couldn't tell who it was. But what if I put more effort to withstand more pain?
それ、長ではないわよね。私はこうして生きてるし、保証はないけど客観視点だった。目線の高さは？私の視点は低かった。大人同士の切り合いを 8年前の子供の長が見てたってところか。それで子供が見てショッキングな状況となると。
Before Miwa finished her conclusion, she saw something far away and squinted one eye as her right eyelid opened wide. The blue light radiating from in her eye was stronger than the reflection of the moon or sea and frightened me for a moment.
来たか。いや、弱すぎる。
Miwa got up. The light residing in her eye disappeared. Perhaps it was caused by my viewing angle, and I just imagined it.
右は来たって何が来たわけ？
Moriyu, I assume? Miwa was holding something. That's why she was in place like this. That fishing pole was just for show, since there was nothing on the tip, and it didn't look like it was used to catch prey.
待ち人来たり。
The person Miwa was waiting for. I thought that what she wanted to show me at that time had nothing to do with me, but it had not been good for my head. 8 years ago, Natsunisen had died in the Unosaka Sea. The person who disappeared here in the raging waters caused a storm. Shouldn't be okay. By storm shouldn't be okay. She'd been considered dead. No one confirmed Natsu-Nisan's dead body. Then, the person that Miwa was waiting for was...
もしかして、夏姉さん？なら、私にとっても長にとっても面倒が省けてよかったんだけど。
Miwa dropped her fishing rod carelessly to the ground and reached her hands towards a fishing pole bag nearby. She untied the string holding the bag closed and took out something like a long stick. The vermilion pole was at least 150 centimeters long and stood taller than Miwa's shoulder. It wasn't a shortened fishing pole. Both ends were encased in metal. It looked like a priest's staff, a spear without the head, or perhaps a Chinese fighting pole. To me, at least, it looked like nothing other than a weapon.
どうやら招かざる客が来たみたい。長、そろそろ昇進寺に。
She was telling me to return.
間に合わないか。
Miwa gave a wry smile indicating she had messed up. Just like yesterday when I happened to hear her on the phone.
私があなたの聞きたいことに答えるから、理由を聞かずに合図するまで目をつぶって耳を塞ぐとか、無理よね。
Oh, I'm sure I could. I would just have to do it very begrudgingly.
無理ね。
God damn it, Shoko. Contradict me, why don't you? Though I'd be grateful if she would tell me something else connected to Natsu-Nisan. My personality wouldn't allow me to do what she asked. Miwa had her back exposed to me and seemed to sense something in the darkness ahead. Though Miwa had said they were too weak, I was wearing a short-sleeved shirt with my arms exposed. Goosebumps ran up them. My body sensed that there was something frightening out there behind me. My body concluded that some terrible thing was going to happen. There were times when it's better for people to close their eyes, cover their ears, and pretend nothing happened, but...
じゃあ、とっくり拝むといいかもね。
I couldn't accept that and turned around at about the same time that Miwa kicked the ground and jumped. Yep, the ear screechers are here. In one moment, it went from silently creeping closer to leaping forward. It gave a piercing scream. Miwa intercepted it. One stab at the pole, its body was bent along the stick, sent flying backwards into the rocks where it slid down. It staggered up on its feet and was illuminated by the moonlight.
何これ?
It resembled a person, but was definitely not human. Perhaps it seemed shorter than it really was because it leaned forward. I couldn't tell whether it was taller than a child or not. But the head was unnaturally large for its body. Leaving aside the head, the gleaming red eyes, the The pointed ears, the large mouth were all unnaturally large. Its eyes were about the size of a fist, and its mouth looked as if it could swallow a person's head whole. Though it resembled a person, it was neither a human nor an animal. It was not something I recognized.
Oni.
It didn't have any horns on its head, but with its long, disheveled hair, sharp fangs and claws, the term was appropriate. It was smaller than me, so perhaps it couldn't step across the only stepping stones, but instead had webbed hands and feet.
カッパ、水湖、ガタロウ、山わらし。
Countless red lights were glowing from the shadows of the rocks. Miwa said that as she adjusted her grip and moved the tip around. There wasn't just one of them. We were surrounded by countless monsters. They were neither Oni nor Kappa. Miwa was standing between me and them in a relaxed manner. Her voice neither shook nor had any enthusiasm.
私のところじゃ面倒だから、カッパの類の鬼をまとめて毛量って総称で呼んでるけどね。
Moryu.
地味毛量の毛量かしら。ご名答。地味は山の鬼。
She stopped the swirling pole that was cutting through the air and held it straight by her side.
毛量は水辺の鬼よ。
Miwa was pulled and stopped in the middle as the golden end drew a large arc. The pole was originally longer than a wooden sword, so the speed and power of its tip was also greater. The Moryu received a blow from above and fell down onto the sharp rocks with several times the speed at which it had jumped. There was no spray of blood or cold corpse. It crumbled into something like the cinders left over from lighting tissue on fire. It turned into something indistinct like ash, dust, or black fog as the wind scattered the remains. The other Moryu were here, but in the darkness there was no trace that the other Moryu had ever existed.
国家予算レベルの制作費かけた最新の SFX じゃないわよ。当たり前でしょ。それだけの予算もぎ取れるキアン右輪なんて女優見たことも聞いたこともないわよ。ま、見たところで信じないかもしれないし。
There would be people who would treat this as a dream tomorrow morning, assuming they returned home safely today.
もしかしたらオサはすでに見たことがあるかもしれないし。
It might be related to the hole in my memory from 8 years ago.
話が通じる相手でも話を引き出せる相手でもないなら。
Miwa gripped the pole at her side and twirled it in the air.
まさに問答無用でやるしかない。
The corners of her mouth lifted up in a fierce smile.
とりあえず丸腰で素人の長は下がってなさい。
The crowd of Moryu jumped in as if saying that the third turn was theirs.
すごっ。
She drew a circle. The tip of her pole, Miwa's movements, the path of her pole, her body, they all moved in a circular motion. Though she had moved, I thought she had moved, but she had returned to her starting position at some point. She moved faster and stronger than before. During practice in the morning, Aoi Shiro had said Miwa's movements looked like a dance, but if it was a dance, it wouldn't be a Japanese dance, but instead like the performance of the Monkey King in the Beijing opera. Miwa's vermilion pole was around 150 centimeters long. The parts used to strike, about 30 centimeters on either end, were reinforced metal. We've been over this, though. Her pole resembled Noibu, and with the golden flower pattern on her uniform, really did conjure up the image of the Beijing opera. The male end of the rod had plenty of force as it smashed into the temple of the small Oni from the side. Only the portion of the Oni from the neck up moved sideways. pole which snapped back into counteraction.
Yeah.
The pole skillfully changed the direction of its rotation and continued moving without stopping. The sound of the pole slicing through the air continued. This was just like... The twirling end of the pole struck the opponent fast as lightning. It resembled a coiled snake preparing to strike. With a shrill, intimidating sound, the red snake-like body unfurled, and the golden fangs struck forwards, backwards, left and right. The vermilion pole that Miwa wielded returned the Moryu to dust, one by one. It wasn't like the movements used in Kendo, and that's not even considering the rules of battle in Kendo. Fighting a situation like this, my chances at winning were practically zero. I was fascinated by Miwa's brilliant movements as she continued to exterminate the Moryu one after the other. I wonder how much time had passed. 10 minutes. No, it might have been even 5 minutes. When Miwa stopped, the bodies of the Moryu had all crumbled, and they were destroyed to the core with no traces left behind.
結構な数がいたわね。
Miwa said to me, who did nothing but watch, thrusting her pole into the ground with a thud as she wiped the sweat off her brow.
おさ、怪我はない？右は、あなた何者よ？また質問？
In a situation like this, I would definitely have questions.
さっきの、あからさまにそっち関係の客でしょ？だったら迷惑料よ。
I asked in a belligerent tone because the difference in level between Miwa and me hurt my small sense of pride. However, the moment the words came out of my mouth, I felt a profound sense of embarrassment. But it seems Miwa didn't pay any attention to that and considered it a trivial matter.
ま、事実だし仕方ないわね。
Miwa pointed her pole at me and gave me a look indicating that it really was bad that I had seen this.
いいわ。メイドの土産に教えてあげる。右は？
Miwa fixed me with a stare that was hard as the one she used against the Moryu and stated her identity.
鬼切り部四天刀が鬼切り。キアン右は。
In front of her familiar name was a title which was unfamiliar to me. No, the portion that was unfamiliar to me was...
鬼切り部？
If it was like the name says, it was a job that exterminated Oni, and Mikiwa had defeated the Oni called Moryu in front of me.
はるか昔からそういう組織があるのよ。徳川に併合されるまでは鬼切りなんて名前じゃなかったけど。私はね、盗まれたものを取り戻しに来たのよ。
More than watching over the stepping stones, it was clear Mikiwa was connected to that person who had a connection with Urashima. I had a feeling. I had a really bad feeling. Though I had bad luck, I was strangely correct about premonitions like this.
それを盗んだのが。そう、あんたの夏姉さん。
I was correct. From what I've experienced in the past, I shouldn't have guessed wrong, but I wish I did. But was it really Natsune-san who... Natsune-san was alive? If she were really alive... I don't know what was stolen, but my thinking sped up and went around in meaningless circles as my feelings spilled out.
なんで？そんな事情は知らないわよ。必要だったからわざわざ南の果てまで来たんでしょ。
Mikiwa shrugged her shoulders and said that as if it were a matter of fact.
うちに伝わる話だと、石岩白髪の陰陽師、石岩鬼が絡んでる可能性がある。石岩鬼？
It was the first time I heard that name, but I knew it was said that a one-eyed, white-haired Omyoji had brought the sacrifice ritual to Hiroshima.
随分とまた未熟者のようだが、お主が四天王鬼切りか。剣を追いかけ来たのだな。
そいつがそれを狙っていて、そいつだけには渡しちゃいけないって。その盗まれたものって。
Was it what the Tsubaki spirit, the one-eyed white-haired Omyoji, Sekiganki had said?
本日のサービスはここまで。とっとと長は帰って寝直せ。だってメイドの土産って。長って意外と頭悪い？私とあんたが口論してるの見られてるんだから、長の身に何かあったら第一容疑者は間違いなく私になる。若い娘の一人旅で寺には長期滞在、夜な夜な寺を抜け出して釣り三昧のくせ、収穫はいつもゼロ。そんな状況でこの程度のこと見られたからって目撃者の口封じとかするわけないでしょ。
Even if I talked, I didn't have any concrete proof, so if Mika played dumb, it'd be treated as nonsense. There's no point in shutting me up.
ま、どうしてもって場合は腹くくってやってあげるけど。
Please don't. I like having maintained bodily integrity.
遠慮しとく。あっそ、じゃあ良い子は帰って寝る時間だから。
Look in a mirror and say that to yourself. As I was chased from the forbidden area, with my back facing away from her, she said some parting words.
ここまでサービスしたんだから、何か役に立つことを思い出してほしいわね。
Whatever. I was in the middle of a warm darkness. Quite some time had passed before I recovered my senses, and it seemed I was still hazy. I didn't know where I was, how long I had been here, or why I was here. I tried to remember what had happened before, but it was all misty and unclear. The existence that was me, all of my experiences scattered, it was as if I had started out in this place from the beginning. Then, was this a dream? This was surely a dream. The beginning of the dream was abrupt, and nothing existed before that. That's why the effort to grasp what happened before was useless, and just transformed into idle bubbles. Normally I didn't know I was in a dream until I woke up, and just floated along until the end with no doubts in my mind. But the dream right now was this a lucid dream? Like watching a movie, I was different from the person on the screen, and it was like I was a third-party observer. I was seeing a dream that I knew was a dream. The me in the dream was much younger than I was now. What covered my head and blocked the light from my eyes was an ample chest, clad in what looked like a rough fabric. This feeling was... It's right. It was the feeling of someone hugging me while wearing a protector. Then, if that were the case, this person was... the person wearing the protector who was hugging a young me was... Not Chan, Natsuni-san, the daughter of my uncle. I heard the trickling of water. It was coming from around my feet. The black protector of Natsuni-san was heavily soaked. Was it sweat? To sweat this much was abnormal and might be dangerous to one's health. A different smell than sweat pricked my nose. Something almost hot dripped onto my bare thighs. My bare things? And slid along the curve of my skin. The sensation against my skin was something thicker than sweat and left a sticky trail.
翔ちゃん、守れなくてごめんね。
Natsuni-san blocked my field of vision, with her embrace as she gently patted me on the head. The palm of her hand was more gentle than usual, but in exchange, it lacked her usually strong vitality. Perhaps because it was wet, the black protector on her chest was also stained a thicker color than usual. The white skin peeking out from the sleeves wasn't drenched as the protector, but the color made it clear that... Was this... blood? There should be no doubt about that. The smell and sensation was completely different from paint, and indicated that it was very real. I could sense that the hand on my head, the wet, sticky shirt, and the feel of blood on my bare feet, but I didn't hurt anywhere. Then this blood, this large amount of blood that stained the two of us, didn't belong to me. Then the injury that Natsume-san sustained was... I was the one who was injured. It hurts. It hurts. My wounds hurt. Though my body had become cold to the core, my wound was the only thing hot and hurting, as if spouting out fire. In place of flames, a large amount of red life scattered. I couldn't see the size of the injury, but because of the amount of blood billowing out like smoke, I knew I couldn't be saved. I had fallen into the ocean at some time, and the thick blood dissolved in the water. My surroundings were stained in red. I felt that I could see something beyond that red smoke. I was probably going to die soon, but that couldn't be helped since so much blood had flown out of me. Within my faint consciousness, I understood that it was a large gate made of stone. Gates were special boundaries that connected here and there. Then did the gate that appeared to me as I was dying lead to the land of the dead. That gate. On the other side of the gate was... is apparently something much more scary than a demonic bowl. Anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut things off here. And we can continue going down this path I'm on in the next episode. I do think I'm on the right track, though, regarding putting myself on Kai's route. But I suppose only time will confirm that for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Aoi Shiro. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.